technologies need to collaborate, for the benefit of each other. Some of the world's largest corporations like Microsoft, Amazon, Audi, Swiss Re, JP Morgan, Chase have adopted to DAC. And these companies, like the mining companies I said in the beginning, have very high scope 3 emissions. Large tech companies like Google and Meta have committed more than $1 billion, almost $1 billion to scale this technology. Oil and gas companies are supporting direct air capture technology because they know that we need this, and it's almost unavoidable. Bill Gates himself has spent or invested more than $5-6 billion to scale up this technology. Latest development in the DAC space, like I said, Carbon Engineering, a Canada-based company got sold for $1.1 billion. The US government itself announced $1.2 billion for the nation's first direct air capture demonstrations. And Amazon has also spent a lot of money. Not less, but billions of dollars. The last few slides show the importance and the urgency of deployment of this technology. But still, there are challenges with direct air capture. It's very, very costly. As the concentration of CO2 in the atmospheric air is very thin, it requires processing a huge amount of air to remove a little bit of CO2 from the atmosphere. So that's why it's very, very costly. It costs around $600 to $1,000 per ton of CO2 removed from the atmosphere. It's highly energy intensive for the same reason. And what makes it more of a challenge, it's unavoidable. Okay, so what is coming is a huge supply-demand gap in the direct air capture removal credits, leading to skyrocketing of prices of carbon credits. It's important to realize that spending on any climate solution, including DAC, is not an investment, but it's an expenditure, unless the investment is specifically made. The important question is, where does India stand in the overall scheme of things? India is no exception and also has to start removing its own emissions. And keeping in mind the current and future usage of coal in India and the emissions that come with it, India needs such facilities more than the countries who are doing it. If we delay, there is no doubt that tomorrow, succumbing to international pressures from IPCC and other bodies, Indian emitting companies might have to together pay trillions of dollars to foreign direct air companies for removing their own emissions. Trillions of dollars will flow out of the country, leading us to possibly an economic slowdown. We have to stop this. Our objective is to make India Atmanirbhar. That's why we have created the first DAC company in India. Novo Nanmec is the first DAC company in India. And it's not just a startup. And it's meant to be a movement. Our mission is to start with our technology and lay the foundation for 1 million ton capacity DAC facilities in this century. Actually lay the foundation, start, and we have a vision to lay a foundation. Our technology is based on carbon looping, right? And it's simple, scalable, and it's a sustainable technology. Our technology continued, but it's too technical to be made a part of this presentation. So let's get moving. Last year, our company was recognized by DST and UKRI as one of the innovative carbon capture startups in India. I would urge you to join this movement. We are willing to create a consortium, share our technology, and build joint DAC facilities like the West is doing. I'm urging companies in India, emitting companies in India, to come together and build DAC facilities to remove their own emissions and be Atmanirbhar. So let's come together to prosper, attain net zero, and make India Atmanirbhar. Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's a wonderful concept.
It's operational.
One should join the movement, what you said. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sanaj. So may I request the co-chair, Retolia ji, to put up his remarks briefly, please. Yeah.
At the outset, I'd like to express my gratitude and thanks to the organizer, Indian Coal Forum, for giving me this opportunity. The session has been an exciting one, but I know that I am standing between you and the lunch. So, while it is a general tradition for summing up, it reminds me, I was attending one of the long back a seminar, and where the management guru Saru Rangnekar was asked to sum it up. Saru Rangnekar said that if everybody sitting in the hall has listened carefully to the presentation, elaborate presentation by the speakers, what is the need of summing it up? And if somebody is sleeping, he has not heard, then also it is not the need to summing up for him to. So I leave it to the intelligent audience that they must have listened to the exciting presentations. And now coming, because this is also a very pet subject, future of coal in Indian context. And it's a very pet subject for me. Particularly, you see what is happening today. The coal is probably the villain in any environmental talk, whether it is COP26 or let us say in G20. But for India, coal is very important. So therefore, India with great difficulty, everybody of you remember in COP26, from phase out, left to environmentalists, they would like to stop the use of coal today itself. So with great difficulty, India could put it from phase out to phase down. And if you remember probably the Alok Sharma, who was the spearheading that COP26, he spoke in the concluding session with tears that I have to make it to the phase down. In G20, India could put it that the phase down of unabated coal power. Now, unabated, here probably everybody knows that means the power plant, thermal power plant, which do not have the carbon capture and other facilities. So therefore, even, I'll say that in the presentations we had the coal producers, Coal India, very nice presentation, and the user, NTPC, the thermal coal, and then the last presentation was definitely very exciting one. So therefore, in order to sustain the coal, and in the presentation of Coal India, if you could have seen that by 2047, although the percentage has gone down, but in absolute terms, it has slightly gone up. So that means even in 2041, probably in absolute terms, we will be polluting what we are polluting from the thermal coal today. Do you think the environmentalists would like to happen that? So as I said that it is the environmental wish that it should stop, and it is the wish of all of us who are connected with coal that it should continue. Therefore, we continue to say, अभी तो 20 साल 30 साल और चलेगा 2047 का भी projection है. But then you never know. Let us admit one fact that as everybody is mortal, you have to die someday, the coal has to have its end someday. But then at the same time, we have a huge reserves of coal. Will you allow it to go like that? And then one answer people do not have. Though we talk that it should be converted or it should be replaced by renewable energy, can the renewable energy meet the total requirement, particularly in the context of India? We can say bluntly no. But then, it has to be choose between, the egg and the chicken, that environmental is also important and the power is also important. So what is to be done? To my mind, it is the high time that when we talk of the producer, we have been talking of the clean coal technologies. So therefore, the coal production, if we want to sustain, this has to be, the production has to be in a cleaner way. We have to pollute the environment to the extent as far less as possible. No doubt the Coal India is doing a lot of things. In the morning, we heard the chairman speaking about the Basundhara, but at the same time, let us admit, I have visited a number of mines even today. And if you see, it is a pitiable scene. Probably there is no, respect to the environment, that's it. It looks like that it is the age-old collieries which we used to see 20, 30 years back. So that type of situation is also there. But if you really want to sustain it, not a single of that situation has to be allowed in such a pitiable scene. And particularly when the coal mines is being opened as the commercial mining between the private operator, the responsibility becomes more and more. Coal India being a very responsible company, big company, they can meet this. Similarly, it's more, not of the coal production. When you talk of the COP26 or G20 or anywhere, it is the use of coal. We talk of the thermal power plant more. That means the use of coal that is more at the, in the firing line. NTPC people are there. So naturally, we have to have such system where, though there will be emission, now the third paper that was the most exciting, that in addition to carbon capture and sequestration, we are talking, it is direct, air to capturing from direct to air. So some of these things has to be incorporated thought right now if we want to sustain the development. And in the morning, the World Coal Forum lady said that, this economy has to be synchronized with this. So naturally, if India has to develop, it's not only wishful thinking. It will be probably difficult to meet the total power requirement from the other sources. But if then coal has to be there, it has to be naturally environmental friendly. A lot of work has to be done, both at the level of producer and at the level of user also. At the same time, now on one side, the government of India thinks that coal should be there. But what is being happening? You are loading on the coal, making it more costlier by unnecessary GST compensations like 400 rupees per ton. The money being paid by the coal companies for the compensatory afforestation, everybody knows that the total amount being paid for the compensatory afforestation, the 100% is not being utilized for that afforestation. If that could have been done, probably the scene could have been different. The coal industry has been demanding a lot of time that it should be given an infrastructure status so that at least you get some of the subsidies and facilities. That is not coming. So I think this is the high time that the forum like Indian Coal Forum, when they give the recommendations, they should say that if you want to sustain, and it has to sustain, the coal industry has to sustain, the government has to proactively help the industry to make it cheaper, make it sustainable. With these few words, gentlemen, I thank you very much once again to our organizer for giving me an opportunity. Thank you very much for a present hearing.
Thank you, Rotilia Saab, for your very kind remarks. May I now request the chairman to give his concluding remarks and might consider giving few minutes for some question answers. We started session late. We might take 10-15 minutes more.
I will not take much of a time. It's better to go for the questions rather than giving lectures. As after Mr. Toliaji has summed up, I don't think there is anything further to sum up. You have heard this very, what I should say, technology-heavy slides I have seen from NTPC, from Noman and Mick. So I'm not going to get into the details of that. I have also seen the slides from CIL. So, sir, we'll be going back to the question and answer session. Before that, I just have my views for a couple of lines. I came from a CSC, that means power generation. 100% of our power generates from coal.